Global tension. Did you know that the world is witnessing a silent war against the dollar? The BRICS and several Asian nations are leading the fight to de-dollarize the global economy, but is it really possible to end the dollar's dominance? Stay tuned to find out. Before we continue, if you support de-dollarization and the BRICS movement, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and leave your comments. We would love to hear your thoughts. In February of this year, Japan made a move that surprised the world. It sold $30 billion in U.S. Treasury bonds. Why did it do it? This action is not a simple change in financial strategy, but a direct blow to the U.S. economy. Japan, one of the United States' main allies, decided to end its support for financing U.S. debt. This change is not accidental. The context behind this decision is complex and has a name and surname: Donald Trump. It was under his administration that Japan began to feel the pressure. For years, Japan had maintained a close economic relationship with the United States. But after Trump's administration, tensions increased, leading Japan to reconsider its unconditional support for the dollar-dominated financial system. What Japan did was much more than a simple economic adjustment. This move was a clear message to Washington. We are no longer willing to continue holding a debt that we cannot pay. Japan, by selling these bonds, is not only reducing its exposure to the dollar, but is also aligning itself with a broader trend of countries like China, Russia, India, and Brazil that seek to de-dollarize their economies. This action is not isolated. Japan, like many other countries, is beginning to disengage from a global financial system controlled by the United States. Japan no longer wants to be just another cog in the U.S. economic machine. And what is even more worrying for Washington, this move may be just the beginning. And what happens when Japan, one of the largest buyers of U.S. Treasury bonds, decides it will no longer finance Washington's debt? The answer is clear: crisis. When key players in the global economy begin to decouple from the dollar, the consequences for financial markets can be devastating. Without the support of allies like Japan, the United States could face difficulties financing its wars, bank bailouts, and the lifestyle it has sustained with the excessive printing of dollars. Now, Japan is not alone in this process. BRICS countries, especially China and Russia, have been active in creating trade agreements that do not depend on the dollar. This has included the creation of new reserve currencies and the promotion of an alternative financial system. Meanwhile, Japan has signed strategic agreements with the European Union, which not only strengthens the euro but also further weakens the dollar. One of the key sectors in this reconfiguration of global economic alliances is the field of electric mobility. Japan has been at the forefront of developing solid-state batteries, which are emerging as the technology of the future for electric vehicles. Toyota, a leader in this technology, is years ahead of its competitors. And if President Trump continues his tariff policy, Japan could respond by limiting the export of these batteries to the United States. What does this mean? Without these batteries, Tesla, Ford, and General Motors could see their electric cars suffer in terms of performance, range, and competitiveness. In addition, the United States would be forced to rely on China to supply key technology at inflated prices. Japan's move goes far beyond what many can imagine. Another critical aspect we must consider is Japanese military spending. Japan is one of the largest buyers of U.S. weapons. However, rumors indicate that this spending could change direction. Part of Japan's military budget could go to Europe, which would represent a significant loss for U.S. defense companies that depend on international contracts. Trump, as always, has given his version of events, downplaying the importance of Japan's action. According to him, Japan only has to benefit from the protection of the United States without offering anything in return. However, this does not reflect reality. Japan has been one of the largest lenders to the United States, while Washington has taken advantage of that relationship to maintain its economic power. Is it fair for Trump to accuse Japan of doing nothing for the U.S. while continuing to rely on its loans? It is a complicated issue, but one thing is clear: Japan is tired of being the silent ally that pays the costs of Washington's policies. Over time, Japan has begun to question whether this model is still beneficial to them. The security treaty between Japan and the United States dates back to 1960 and has been used by the U.S. to justify its military presence in the country. However, this agreement is being reinterpreted by Japan, which could now intervene without U.S. support. This shows the growing distance between the two countries. Donald Trump can say what he wants, But the reality is that Japan is not getting what it should from Washington. Japan has been humiliated, first with the atomic bombs, and then with the occupation and military restrictions imposed by the U.S. Is it fair that Japan is now being asked to continue financing the U.S. system while Washington benefits from its money and resources? Japan has begun to question these policies, and that is leading to a redefinition of its relationship with the U.S. The process of global de-dollarization is underway, and Japan, along with the BRICS, is playing a crucial role in this change. If the trend continues, we could be seeing the beginning of the end of the dollar's dominance. While it is difficult to predict if this will happen in the short term, the pressure on the United States is increasing. Hey there! Today, we are going to talk about a decision that has shaken the financial world. China has taken a drastic measure that could change the global economic landscape. China has decided to get rid of its dollar reserves and will no longer use the dollar as its main currency. Imagine that. This decision not only affects China but has implications for the whole world. This change is super important for the world economy and could have huge consequences for international trade. Global markets are already reacting to this news, and it's no wonder. It seems that China wants to strengthen its own currency, the yuan, and rely less on the US dollar. This could be a strategic move to increase its economic and political influence in the world. Experts disagree on what will happen. Some say this could lead to greater stability in the Chinese economy, while others believe it could cause instability in global markets. But what is certain is that this is going to have a very big impact. Volatility in the financial markets could increase, and companies that rely on international trade could be affected. What does this mean for the future of the dollar and the world economy? Well, some analysts believe that the dollar could lose its status as the world's reserve currency, which would have profound implications for the global economy. Well, only time will tell. What is clear is that we are entering a new era of economic uncertainty, and we will all be watching how events unfold. Stay informed and prepared for what's to come. In the past year, the BRICS countries have intensified their efforts to challenge the hegemony of the US dollar. This coalition, comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is pushing for a multipolar world where no single currency dominates. Led by Russia and China, these nations are exploring alternatives to the US-dominated global financial system. They are working on creating a new reserve currency and establishing trade agreements that bypass the dollar. Vladimir Putin has been a central figure in this movement, promoting economic and military cooperation among BRICS members. His vision is to create a robust alliance that can counterbalance Western influence. With the recent inclusion of new countries into the bloc, the potential impact on the global economy is immense. Nations like Argentina and Iran are showing interest in joining, which could further strengthen BRICS. Are we on the brink of a new world order? Only time will tell. The next few years will be crucial in determining the future landscape of global finance.